By the authority invested in me, I hereby declare this meeting of the Conshohocken Borough Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. I have one announcement. We did have an executive session for legal matters prior to the meeting, and I do apologize for the delay.
Roll call.
No. So our first item on the agenda is presentations. So we will have the fire police swearing-in ceremony for William Cox.
I, William Cox,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey,
that I
and
will
defend
defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge
and I will discharge
the duties of my office with fidelity.
and duties of my fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is to conduct interview for the Environmental Advisory Committee. First individual, if you could please come up to the podium, is Eliza Lanzuti. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Maybe she could just take a seat.
You're good.
Okay. Hi, my name is Elisa Lanzutti. I've been living in Conshohocken since almost 7 years, and as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here, but a Conshi resident by adoption. I'm applying for the vacant seat because I feel I would like to be more involved in the community. Right now, I have a little bit of flexible time to do so and commit to this position. I am registered architect in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, and I've been working in Philadelphia for 4 years. And right now I'm setting up my own firm. I'm very interested in developing environmental sustainable projects, and also this is where my passion for the sustainable environmental policy can be. I feel I can contribute to this for this position, giving my perspective from an architect perspective on how we can build differently or support policies to have a lower footprint on our environment.
Go ahead, Tina. Where do you live?
I live on 300 East 8th Avenue.
East 8th?
So I met you at our last EAC meeting.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about an initiative we're working on that you would like to be a part of?
Well, I think in the next meeting there is a discussion about solar panels and the use of solar panel, and I would like to get involved with this initiative specifically to investigate what are the current policies of the township and any tax reduction and how that can be also brought to every resident, not only for the benefit of the township, and if there is any regulation or processes in getting the approval or have an inspector coming to check all the how the panel will be installed. I think it would be good for the citizens to know what the process is, to have clarity on that. So I will be happy to be involved with that, write an articles or clarify that.
Thank you.
So solar panels would be something on the high-tech end
Yeah.
of environmentally aware citizens. What
Yeah.
would be something more small-scale, manageable for the average person that was not ready to do solar panels, but something
Well,
smaller?
there are a number of strategies like that on a very practical scale can be even during a renovation, installing water efficient fixtures like shower head or faucets that will reduce the use of potable water and also the treatment of the wastewater for the township. Or for example, using Energy Star certified appliances. And those are strategies that every single resident can do by themselves without involving
Right, so
the
raising
entire
awareness
process.
would be
Yes.
a big part of what you would
Yes.
believe in. Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Anyone have any more questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christopher Jensen, thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure being here tonight. My name is Christopher Jensen. I live on West 6th Avenue with my wife and 2 young kids. We've been living there for about 2 years, since 2016 in the summertime. I'm a professional civil engineer. I work in the city of Philadelphia, and I'm actually a group manager there in our site civil department as well as our water resources department. I've had good fortune to work on many projects over the years that incorporate green design and green infrastructure. Worked on quite a few LEED accredited projects as well. That's an environmental accreditation program, if you're not familiar with it, for buildings and sites. Most recently, I've been tasked to be the project manager for a contract that we've obtained for the Philadelphia Water Department in terms of incorporating green stormwater infrastructure into their street network, which I think is something that could be very beneficial here in the borough of Conshohocken as well, in terms of not only adding green and value to the streetscape, but also it helps with traffic control and those types of elements as well. I'm a member of the Urban Land Institute in Philadelphia and also the GSI Partners program, which is an affiliated group with the Sustainable Business Network in Greater Philadelphia. And the reason I want to become a member is actually I'm friendly with Dominic Rockwell, and he suggested that I reach out, and I work with Dominic quite a bit, trying to get projects approved both on the public and private side. I work on both types of projects, and I think I'm interested in contributing to the environmental stewardship of the borough, and I feel like my skills and experience and ideas could help in that regard. So.
Any questions from council?
What was your favorite project that you've worked on?
That's a great question. I would say one of my favorites was I did a project for the Community College of Philadelphia, and it was an expansion of their Northeast Regional Campus, and it incorporated many different types of green design elements, including rain gardens, rainwater harvesting, green roofs, things above and beyond what a typical developer or owner would do on a project, because they were trying to set an example for the city and for their students and so forth. So it actually became a model that the Philadelphia Water Department uses for private development on how to incorporate green principles into a project. So that was very interesting. It was completed about 4 or 5 years ago. So
Where's that campus?
it's in Northeast Philadelphia. Yeah.
But where, sort of, I know where Northeast
Oh.
Philadelphia is.
That's the actual road network. I can't recall the actual,
Okay,
because I'm not that familiar with the area.
I was just curious.
But
Okay.
believe it or not, as a civil engineer, I don't have the best navigational skills. I have to use Google
It's with
Maps
the
quite
GPS,
often.
right?
But
I can
that-
Google it myself.
so that
By the airport.
that was quite a good project. And the things that we're doing now with the water department we're doing tree well design over extensive 10 to 12 blocks at a time. And they have a mandate by DEP through the EPA to green the city and reduce their combined sewer overflows. So it's an interesting program. I work on school projects. I work with private developers, owners. Worked on quite a few municipal projects, trails, parks over the years. So
Thank you.
In your role, do you work with grants?
grants as well. Yes, that's something that my firm over the years has used as a mechanism to help our municipal clients, as well as try to obtain monies for private owners or developers to gain access to funds that would enhance the value of their projects. And I think that's something else that I can bring in terms of recognizing those opportunities and looking for areas where monies might be available to help the borough.
Any more questions from council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you-
Last individual is Mr. Swartley.
Hello, I'm Dan Swartley McCardle. Pleasure to meet you all. I'm not like the other two. Those are architects and much smarter than I am. I went into like the hard science type of side of it all. So I'm a clinical microbiologist by training, and I worked for GSK up in Collegeville up until about October. So facilitated the move out here, which I loved, and it was great. And then that kind of job came to an end, so then I started at Bristol Myers Squibb about a week ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Right, it's kind of different. So, so I'm a clinical microbiologist, meaning I kind of like got down into like the nitty gritty, like small, itty bitty, tiny little bacteria, which was great. And I've loved that. It's been fantastic for me. I find joy in like the repetitive nature of what it does. But then I also kind of enjoy getting involved and staying involved. So not only did I get involved where I came from Upper Pittsgrove, small little farming community. Grew up on a farm in southern New Jersey, and so I got involved there, was on the school board, served on the Salem County Agricultural Council and Advisory Board, and this would kind of be something similar to that here, so I'd like to try to stay involved. And so I think I could probably bring a hard science type of side to this. I also continue to teach. So I teach I did teach at Temple and at Rowan University over in southern New Jersey, doing not strictly just biology education, but also like how do you do the softer side, actually how do you do like science communication, how do you actually integrate. And so I feel like having a different voice, different perspective might be potentially better. So that's kind of where and how and what I do. So outside of lots of other stuff, I got involved like on the macro scale. So I'm the chair of the Public Participation Task Force for the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and the vice chair for the Delaware River Port Authority Citizens Advisory Committee. So I've gotten involved macroly, and I like to get involved kind of like where I would live. So I'm here, so that's why I'm here.
Where do you live?
403 West 5th Ave.
Looking at our town versus being, as you said, macro.
Yeah.
What would be something you would find lacking that we should pay attention to?
So coming from where I did in Upper Pittsgrove, but also kind of staying involved in and around Philly, I was a competitive rower, so the Schuylkill River is like a big thing. So like river water maintenance, and also particularly with the trails and like trail maintenance. The DVRPC has given me a ton of background on this. So they actually have a very wide trails program, so Montgomery County does as well. So I feel like that would be something that we could probably potentially continue to build on. Yes, Montgomery County has been kind of a leader on this to push it forward, but there's always room to grow. There's always room to improve, and I feel like that could potentially be done here. I know I benefit from, you know, getting up and running on the trail in the morning, so when I can, right? Let's be honest. Not recently, but eventually I will.
Not with your
sometime.
commute.
Yes.
And what do you believe the role of the EAC is in our community?
So, I mean, it's more like what I perceive it to be. It would be kind of a way for you to kind of develop and kind of crowdsource best practices on things that can be done and implemented without necessarily costing a whole lot. There's the idea of not only being efficient in both your time, but also efficient in resources, and I'm sure that's exactly what the EAC policies would state.
Thank you.
Have you had the opportunity to sit on any of their meetings?
Not recently, only because I just kind of became aware of it.
Okay.
And it was more, actually, it was kind of a conversation that kind of came up from a recent DVRPC thing. They were like, oh, well, there's a seat that's open. You should probably look. And I was like, okay, right? So I became aware with it like, you know, about a month and a half ago. So I was like, oh, maybe this can fit my schedule. Look, Thursdays. I have Thursdays off, so yeah, I will. Absolutely, yeah.
Do you often do things with DVRPC?
I do, yeah. So I've been involved with them for the past couple of years.
Okay.
First being a member, then last year I was the vice chairman. Now this year I'm the chairman for the PBTF. So they have tons of different task force, massive amounts of stuff. But yeah,
They do.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
Yes.
They had one literally. Wait, today's
2 weeks ago.
yesterday. We had our
The one
meeting
yesterday?
yesterday. Yes.
Okay.
So one of the goals of the EAC for this year is to educate the public about green initiatives.
Yeah.
What are some ways, especially with a science background, that you can take these sometimes complicated ideas and make them easier to understand?
Well, see, the idea is, and this is exactly what I tell all my students, how do you break down giant complex ideas into something smaller? You have to actually understand who your target audience is. General public consumption is very different from somebody with a bunch of letters behind their name, whatever they may be, PhD, MD, DRP, whatever, all that. So it's more like kind of finding language that speaks to them and then kind of mirroring that back. You can pretty much break down any particularly large, very complex microbiology, for instance, right? Just popping off the top of my head here. You can pretty much explain any large principle just by making sure that you actually understand and actually have words that can communicate meaning to them, right? This is not the idea to toss out things like confidence interval and, an equation, right? Don't talk math at them, but find a way that you can actually communicate with them. And then from there, just make sure you have like a very deep-seated understanding of what it is. I'm assuming that's what the EAC would do. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you've interviewed 3 candidates tonight. You will, if you're so inclined, in 2 weeks, make a decision. There is only 1 vacancy available on the EAC, so you have 3 candidates for 1 position. It'll be on the agenda in 2 weeks in the voting meeting, and you'll appoint at that time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come out and your interest. We appreciate it.
The next item on our agenda is a discussion on borough ordinance revisions. This is something that has come up repeatedly in the last year on different subjects. So we've chosen tonight to actually discuss and start planning some of those changes.
So just to kick it off, again, this is just a conversation, a starting point. With the completion of the comprehensive plan and the draft that's going to be advertised for potential adoption in June, the next step with the comprehensive plan is the action plan that's in the comprehensive plan. A lot of those action points and a lot of what you've discussed with administration to date is revising some of the borough ordinances. Now, to be very clear, this is a process. This isn't something that's you're not going to say, this is what we want to look to revise, and overnight it happens. And Mike can speak to the process if he needs to in a greater depth. But when we're evaluating both from an administrative and a council and mayor perspective, we then need to come to some sort of consensus as a group as to what those changes would look like. We then need to set up advertising dates for the ordinance revisions. It then needs to be officially adopted, and then we'll get codified. So that's a very short summary of what the process looks like. But for tonight, and we won't be making any decisions except if there's anything that you'd like us to start working on immediately. From an administrative perspective, we just want some guidance as to what it is that you want us to look at, what revisions that you are of key importance to you. I have some of them, so I've compiled a list of what you've discussed to date, being the sign ordinance, the Design Review Committee, the Shade Tree Commission revision to be included in the responsibilities of the EAC, sort of a consolidation of those two entities, an animal control ordinance specific to the issue that we have with feral cats in town, the numbering of buildings, which is rear house numbers, which Bob has talked about, and then the accessory uses and zoning, which is garages specifically. So that's the list I have from you all as of today. A list that we've talked about administratively, and this is where I kind of need your feedback. So the parking ordinance is probably something that needs to happen sooner rather than later. The police and public services have already compiled a list, so we're going to be starting that now. So if there is anything from a parking ordinance perspective that you want us to include, now would be the time. I would say that's probably going to be the one that's going to go first.
Could we see that list?
Of course.
So that way we can comment on it?
Yep.
And maybe make some additions?
We have the list, so we'll include it in your Friday upload.
Okay, thank you.
And it'll just be bullet points
Okay.
and the reasoning for why.
And are they specific to locations?
They're specific locations
Okay,
with
thank you.
specific number of spaces.
Great.
So
Okay.
in that, the address on the alleys,
Yes.
we want to include the front too, because people don't understand,
Yeah.
they need their addresses posted in the front.
Okay.
So we want to do the front and the back,
Okay.
the rear. And when you're addressing the parking situation, are you talking about on-street parking?
We're talking about all types
Are
of
we
parking.
talking about carports in the back?
No, we're not talking about carports. We're talking about on-street.
On street parking?
On-street parking.
On-street parking.
And are you talking about the limit in hours and minutes and?
We're talking about anything at this point. So from our perspective, I can tell you that from an administrative side, it's mostly spaces that need to be designated for specific purposes. So we're not looking to change time periods or metered parking. We are going to be looking eventually to expand the regulation in the parking ordinance that relates to Park Mobile and expanding that purpose. But the immediate need is to include spaces on Forest Avenue for tenants in this building, Elm Street specific to public services needs, municipal parking specific to recreation needs, and then some other spaces that from a police and a public services perspective they've evaluated is an issue right now in terms of how the borough is operating.
So are we talking about residential parking or just all commercial? Are we talking about residential parking?
You're talking about potentially a mix
Okay.
of streets where there is residential parking that need to be allocated for specific purposes, like a municipal parking space. We're talking about one parking space being taken up.
Okay.
Or the reservation of space along a specific road based off of whether or not our municipal vehicles can operate in and out of a building that we have. So no, we're not looking to take away residential parking.
No, I'm not saying that.
We're
Just-
looking to
So-
increase the efficiency of our operation.
So this is an all-inclusive parking ordinance?
Correct.
That there are specific needs that administration has, police have.
Correct.
So we would be looking at that ordinance to identify if there's anything that we identify from a residential need.
Absolutely.
And it would make sense to do it all in one shot rather than piecemeal it.
I would like to do it all in one shot,
And
because I
so-
don't want
and
to
so
pay
would
for
I.
advertising.
So Bob, if there's something that you're concerned, something that you see about residential parking that we need to address,
Yeah.
that would be
There is
included.
a
in-
few things that
Well,
I-
that would be included in this, yes. So say if there's a street that is, and this is just an example, I'm not saying it is anywhere, where there is regular parking and it needs to be changed to angle or things like that, I would assume.
This is not a street, it's alleys.
Did you say alleys?
Alleys, yeah. Let me just explain it to you. It's something that we really encourage people to do.
Right.
And I don't want to bring up alleys because everybody talks, with what I want to do with the alleys, but people are putting carports in, which is great, because it's great to have a parking space when you come home, you pull in, whatever, but they're not doing it properly. They're taking their fence down, they're putting stone in, loose 3/4 inch stone, and what happens is when the car's tires spin, it throws the stones out in the alley. When we get a bad storm, the storm washes the stones down the alley, and Ray, you can chime in on this if you want, but it's a constant, in my alley and other alleys that I go down, it's a constant problem.
Okay. Do we have any ordinance
Yeah,
directing that?
Well, it would fall within the zoning ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
So if there, I guess my request back to council is, while the administration is going through ordinance by ordinance, picking out pieces that either need to be revised because they're no longer applicable, or if we're evaluating how the borough operates and something needs to be added, we would like council and the mayor's feedback at the same time. And I will send you any administrative updates as they are complete, so that you can look at the list and look at what we're looking at and then add in whatever you are getting from your perspective, your residents' perspective. That way it's this concerted effort to move this along, with the intention of being able to make the action plan and the comprehensive plan actionable, because the ordinances reflect what we've slated to complete.
Okay. So on that subject, I think that Bob is a concern is the actual construction of carports.
Right.
So that is
Okay.
something that I'm assuming we can have the administration start to look at.
Yep.
And for those types of issues, when they are zoning issues in particular, we want them to only be done once. You have to haul a court reporter in here. It has to go before our planning commission, the county planning commission. So in terms of doing an omnibus ordinance that addresses several issues, that's the way to do it. So Bob's issue is exactly what we're looking for.
So if we wanted to go ahead with angled parking, can we designate it that all angled parking should be back in only? Because we're finding people having accidents because they're pulling out from beside a truck and they can't see.
Well,
I guess my message back to that question would be, what's your wish list? And then let us determine for you what we're legally feasible, what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah, it's just that part of the borough is backing and part of the borough is pulling.
Right.
I think on that, maybe we need some feedback from the police department on that. Because sometimes it's just as dangerous to have to back in the spot as it is to back out of it.
Yeah.
So I think
We have to
maybe,
find out what's doable.
right.
So what I'm hearing, and I'm just kind of trying to organize my thought process, parking is one that's a priority.
Yep.
It sounds like the zoning one is a priority because that covers garages and carports and
Correct.
everything. So I would say that would
Zoning
be-
is a priority.
Yes.
Okay.
And the sign ordinance as well, so it's all
All in one.
Is there a sign ordinance? There's not a sign, we don't have a sign.
It's under the zoning
It's in
ordinance.
zoning.
Yeah, there
It's in
is some.
zoning. I think the
Yeah.
issue
It
related
needs to
to
be
electronic
updated.
signs, right? That was the issue.
Right.
And the house numbers, which will all fall into one.
Right, so that's taking a look. I have on here that the zoning ordinance will be a concerted effort between our zoning officer, our solicitor, council, and the administration, because that's going to be one that, like Mike said, we're going to want to do it once and
Be
done,
done.
especially since we then need to get a court reporter in here.
And realistically, how many ordinances can we manage in a period of time? So I want to set some realistic,
Okay.
we've got a book this big.
Yep.
So realistically, let's kind of say these two priorities will take how long? The zoning one's going to be a big one.
Right.
So are these the two we work on in the next 6 months? Or can we fit any more in from a
Or
time
do you want more?
perspective?
Well, that's a loaded question,
I
Connie.
know.
I think the only other one that I would add that's somewhat time sensitive is the revisions to the solid waste ordinance. So we talked a lot about divot and trash
Right.
cans.
Yes.
So if we're talking about a 6-month period here, and you're talking about a rollout in 2019, yes, zoning is probably a priority. That it encompasses a bunch of items that you've all talked about. Parking is a big one, especially from an administrative perspective. And then the solid waste ordinance is one that we're gonna have to look at if we're going to uphold our promise to divot.
Correct.
And is there anything else that for divot, that we need to look at?
Not from an ordinance perspective, no.
Okay.
I think that there are some, and you correct me if I'm wrong, some smaller changes that we probably already all agree on that we might be able to make, such as the design review committee, the shade tree commission. Those are smaller changes that can just be made to the current ordinance, and we can package them all together and clarify.
Right, and Mike, you're already working on the one for the houses.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that's already included.
In terms of the three ordinances that you just presented, there's no problem getting those done in 6 months. And in fact, with these smaller one-off ordinances like parking and solid waste, in terms of our drafting, it's not much time at all, and it's only a week of advertising, so it's not too bad.
But I think if you tackle those specific ones, you'll have accomplished a lot within a short amount of time, and it'll set you up for what it is that you want to do, specifically when you're setting your goals.
And if we get them done in 3 months, then you can make us do more. That's all good.
Is there anything else that I'm missing that is a priority from your end?
I know I did. Yeah, I know. I think some of them are.
Yeah. You don't have to bring it up.
This one I was really concerned about is the regulating, right? We have no authority over them.
Yeah, it's them.
The Borough Council, someone of us were- Did we add something for the dogs going through Marywood Park? Was that added?
I know.
Dog friendly park?
I don't know.
Yeah.
has her list, they're just reviewing it right
Oh, Nita
Sorry.
has a list.
It's okay.
Well, no,
I know what
went
you're
through
doing.
I went through the ordinances and, like, did we add in under the dog ordinance that Marywood Park is now a dog-friendly walk-through park?
The
Does that
Marywood
need to
Park
be-
dog-friendly, I believe, was an
Walkthrough.
ordinance, but the dog park committee was done by resolution.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And we are, since we didn't just mention that, the pet ordinance in reference to the cats is included in this.
That would be
Yeah, the
an
cats would be
example
under
of a smaller ordinance I'm talking about, rather than
Okay.
a larger one like the zoning that's gonna take time to tackle.
So
Right.
what's this about, the cat park?
The
No,
fair-
cat ordinance. Dear God.
Called a cat hotel.
Bob, do you remember the
I didn't want to
issue?
think about
the
that.
White
Now,
House.
if you all
Oh,
have
you got
cats on Maple
Oh, please.
That's why it's coming up.
Okay, so I'm not gonna touch that one, but, Anita, I think if you have a list,
Okay.
let's
send it.
meet, and we'll
Okay.
go through the list, and I'll tell you exactly which ones line up with the
Which are
big.
important and which are not.
Well, not that, but the ones that'll fit in with the larger scale
Okay,
project, and the
Okay.
ones that maybe we can kind of offshoot with the rest of the smaller ones.
okay.
So what Anita did as part of the comprehensive plan was just started reading the ordinances and really trying to identify what has
What's
been
outdated?
outdated. So they might be small scale, and I think if you
Yeah,
share
I
them,
think some of them
they'll
are
just
small
be
scale.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
great.
I'll come in and share them.
Thank
We no
you.
longer need antennas on the top of our houses to watch TV kind of deal.
No, we have a disc now instead.
I think that's great. I think you're going to look at it from a global perspective, a macro perspective, and a micro perspective, and that is, it's going to be a process, but it'll be one that'll be well worth it in the end.
Yes.
Is anyone uncomfortable with the direction that the process is going to go in? Anything else you'd like us to consider a priority at this time? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Steph. Our next item is the discussion on the borough auditor appointment.
Okay, I'm going to keep talking. In 2016, council appointed B. Bergville and Company to conduct the borough's annual financial audits for 15, 16, and 17. So the last round of financial audits they will complete will be last year's financials. That process has started. I think it's important to note that over the course of their 3 years, their 3-year tenure with the borough, our audits have now transitioned to audits that are done on time, audits that are completed. We've, with their assistance, added on an OPEB valuation. We've finalized a capital asset list. We've finalized a capital asset policy. And we are in the process right now of finalizing the government-wide financial statements. Those were all items on the audit that were noted as items that needed to be completed. So you're there. They've gotten us there, along with our finance administrators and our finance consultant. We're in good shape. It's a very positive relationship. In speaking with the finance consultant, they've recommended that it takes time in order for that type of relationship to blossom. So welcome. What I would recommend right today is you're going to have to reappoint or appoint an auditor, because this is the last year of who you appointed. So my recommendation at this point would be to maintain consistency. You went through the RFP process. You vetted out the applicants that applied through the RFP process. They were interviewed. They were selected by council. We have the RFP results on file. So I don't need a decision tonight, but I'm asking that you think about and consider for a discussion and decision in 2 weeks whether or not you'd like to reappoint B. Bergville, or if you'd like to authorize me to initiate the RFP process for the auditor.
So,
Any discussion on that? Yeah.
so we have had that information in our Dropbox all week for review. Is there anyone that does need more time to review this?
I just want to say you found their pricing
time.
very competitive.
Right, so their pricing is very competitive. They actually were the cheapest. Significantly, if you look at their totals of what they submitted, they were around $10,000 cheaper than the next submission. Those fees, in speaking with their firm, would be somewhat similar. Mindful of the fact that we have added on additional services that we've needed to, that should have been, that we're now doing. So you'll see a slight increase, but nothing drastic. But yes, if you're looking at the RFP process that you did go through, you selected the lowest option in terms of cost, and you've gotten quality service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think now we can move on to manager matters.
Okay. So that will be an item on your agenda for next week, for the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, Steph.
Thank you. Okay, first item under manager matters is Mr. Costa. He is here to formally request from council to host a block party at the 200 block of West 3rd Avenue.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Good evening.
Frank Costa, 7-year resident of Conshohocken. I reside on West 3rd Avenue. I'm here to present an opportunity for the council to create a culture of community on our street, which is West 3rd. As Karen did one day on a Sunday, and Yaniv did on a Sunday as well. You came around on a boot. You came around with your wife, knocking, asking for support. I'm here to ask you guys for some support. There's been a big changeover on our street. Greater than 50% of the block is now new residents, renters, and homeowners. We're trying to extend the olive branch of friendship, not just neighborhood, not just a transplant area. We want to create and weld a strong relationship within that community. I presented 3 separate dates that this could occur. I reached out to the Bocce Club, had opened up a dialogue to talk to them to see if I'd impede their business. Out of the 3 dates I provided them, 1 date seems optimal, which is April 12th.
April 12th or May 12th?
May 12th, I'm sorry, May 12th. What I'd be asking from you is a 5 to an 8 hour period that we would close down the street after April, a little bit before Wood, and we would go around, we would communicate with all the residents that would be affected by this block party. We would relay that, hey, we're closing down the street for 5 to 8 hours. We invite you to come out, bring family, friends, introduce yourself to your new neighbors. We just had a redevelopment behind our house, which improved 16 homes. Real young professionals, through just a sense of community, them walking, dogs, us being outside. We've briefly encountered each other. Now it's time to strengthen that and weld that a little bit stronger by giving us this 1 day that we ask you guys, for a little bit of relief.
So just to clarify, my conversations with Mr. Costa, we spoke last week.
Yes.
Based off of the timing of what he was requested, we put him on the agenda for this meeting. We haven't had an opportunity at this point to vet everything through admin and different departments. So I would be asking for a motion to approve his request for a block party contingent upon him meeting all administrative specifications.
I have a question on Frank, right?
Yes.
Have you been in touch, you were in touch with the Bocce Club, right?
Correct. Yes.
I received a call about an hour ago.
Yes.
About their, the people, the customers getting in that day, and they have some kind of catering thing that
So
night?
they have a catering event that starts at 7. We would ask for a 12 to 5 shutdown from the street. Would give a 2 hour window for us to remove any kind of impedance on the road and open the street up. They close the Bocce Club at 6. That gives them an hour window to kind of improve the facility for the event. We'd be giving them 2 hours. So I don't think that should be an issue. The only issue would be that we'd be asking their regulars to park their car a little bit further than they're used to and sashay up the street. And I mean, convenience, everyone is going to be inconvenienced by any kind of community action. So we're asking that, hey, you got to walk a little further, leave a little more time for your commute, and for the 5 hours for us to strengthen the relationship on our block.
Could you
How much
rehash that
support-
to the Bocce?
I will, and I
Fred-
have.
Fred
Yes,
DeSalvo.
I spoke to Fred several
Okay,
times today.
Thank you, and I think that's great what you did. what you
Okay,
guys did.
thank you.
So how much support and interest have you gotten from?
A great deal.
Yeah.
Greater than 70% on Wood Street and inclusive of 3rd Avenue from Maple down is really excited for it. We have some people coming here.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
So,
This is really awesome. One of the things that was discussed in the Comprehensive Plan Task Force was the idea of how do we start creating communities of our different areas. And this kind of fits right into that whole programming where every area of Conshohocken has different cultures and different identities, and this is one of those things that can help promote that. So
Great.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Question, are we invited?
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Are we invited?
Are you invited? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, were we invited? All right. Even the East Siders?
Especially these.
All right. There you go.
You know, no alcohol, you know. No alcohol.
Okay, moving on. No, I'm kidding.
Moving on, yes.
We have support from you, but
Oh,
didn't make it.
Good.
Okay, well, you're all set to go, so.
You are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Come on out next time.
Next week. Phone the calendar.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Couple of ones left.
You know what? What was I doing?
May 12th.
Well, it's,
That was great.
That's awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
oh, it's nice to have happy residents.
Yes, it is.
Especially when they're in your ward.
Next item on the agenda is Mr. Arcata from the Philadelphia Phoenix. If you can come to the podium. This is an annual request. This is an annual group that utilizes the A field for their professional competitions. They have submitted a permit, they've submitted a certificate of insurance, they've submitted a liquor license with the entity that will be providing the sale of the alcohol and the liability that comes with that. They have worked directly with our Director of Recreation and our Recreation Department, but it requires council approval. So, Mr. Arcata, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but
No, not too much. I'm a new general manager for the Philadelphia Phoenix, which is a professional ultimate frisbee team that competes in a national league. My understanding is that this is a request we've renewed annually. We've been at the AA Garthwaite Stadium for, I believe, 4 years. And the sale of alcohol is for refreshment of attendance there. And the advertisement of that greatly helps us bring people into the borough and attract people to games and attract people downtown after games and just make more of an event of it. So that's my pitch. And
When are your games held?
they are on Saturdays and Sundays on varying dates from April to July. Our home opener is supposed to be this Sunday. But with the weather, it's sounding like
No frisbee.
No.
yeah. I think the field got closed on us. So if anybody can pull any strings there and get things back open, you know. But yeah, we're on Saturdays and Sundays from April to July.
During the day.
Yeah, Saturdays are 6:30 games. Sundays are 1 o'clock games.
Okay.
You're all invited too after the block party.
Thank you.
Approximately how many people attend a typical game?
In the past, it's been in the realm of, I think, 150 people per game.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia area has a history of getting more attendance in competing leagues in this city. There's a large history of ultimate frisbee and professional ultimate frisbee in the past 7 years. We're hoping to capitalize on that scene. At the 2016 championship game hosted in Philadelphia, there were 3,000 people for a game. So maybe, fingers
If that
crossed,
happens,
someday,
just give me a warning.
What's that?
If that happens, just give me a little warning on that one.
Sure.
Okay.
You guys, have security, right?
Yeah, we have staff at the game, and not specifically security for most games, but typically with our smaller crowd size, it hasn't been an issue in the past.
so just to clarify, part of the permit requires that the applicant reach out to the police department. So if there is
would
a
think so.
requirement that the chief or the lieutenant deem necessary, they'll work directly with that entity.
And we have not had any issues in the past regarding this.
I'm not aware of. George, have you had any incidents?
So that's clarified. Anyone else from council have any questions?
Given the timing of the request and that their season is starting, I would need a motion tonight if you're so inclined.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Fight Rugby. Mr. Silk. Again, this is an annual request. Fight Rugby has expanded their use of the A field to include different and numerous entities. However, Fight Rugby is their professional arm, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But the same request that they make annually, they've also completed the permits that are required, have turned in the certificate of insurance. Tristan is aware of the fact that it is up in May, and he'll get me a renewal.
Of course.
And has turned in the liquor license to cover the liability of the sale of alcohol. If there's anything else you want to add?
This is obviously the first time we've met. We've been doing this for, I think, almost 10 years. So we've been working with the Liquor Control Board. Steph, since she's gotten here, has been absolutely fantastic. Until then, Uncle Donnie ran everything. You know. The unofficial mayor. So he says. So he says. Once Steph came along, things got a little bit more formalized, so we obviously came with the times, so.
Okay.
And you're working directly with our new director, correct?
Yes, Lauren's
Okay.
fantastic.
That's good. That's what I hear.
It's what we all hear.
Again, how many participants usually come to an event?
Matches range from 50 to 200. We try every year to do at least one charity match. We partner with First Trust Bank, which is obviously right down the street, and all the proceeds from the game go to the Be Positive Foundation. So usually those games end up having double. You know, there are a lot of supporters, especially in Montgomery County, for them.
That's great.
And when are your games generally?
Saturdays, 5 to 8-ish.
Thanks.
Did they?
Absolutely.
When do they start?
So our first match is during the Snow Bowl. It's Saturday. And then we pick up again in June.
And you will play in the snow, huh?
Oh, we will play in the snow.
Oh,
They
yeah,
will,
of course
so
they
just
will.
to clarify, they might play in the snow, but the field won't be played on in the snow.
Yes, we play in the snow, but not at that field.
Okay.
We've made some friends today.
We do love our field.
Yeah, last year we played in 6 inches of snow.
So again, their request is timely.
Yes.
So if you're so inclined, if you could make a motion to approve, that would be much appreciated.
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next item on the agenda is to consider approving ordinance 1 of 2018, which would authorize the participation of the Borough of Conshohocken in the Delaware Valley Property and Liability Trust. And I do need a motion this evening.
I will make that motion.
And I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
What?
Motion carries.
Sure.
So the only other thing, council, that you should do this evening, you do need to appoint a trustee to represent you on the board. Typically, it is the borough manager. I would suggest that you do so here. So a motion would be appropriate to appoint Stephanie as the trustee and to authorize her to submit any forms to effectuate that election.
I would make that motion.
I would second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. More work for Stephanie?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Madam President. The next motion is to consider approving ordinance 2 of 2018, authorizing the participation of the borough in the Delaware Valley Workers' Compensation Trust.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
This is indeed a separate trust, so you again need to appoint Steph as the elected or appointed trustee of this trust and authorize her to submit any paperwork commensurate with that application.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Last item that I need a motion on is to consider authorizing the processing of the Delaware Valley Trust agreements for both property and liability and workers' compensation.
Again, we'll need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
That's great. Thank you very much. You should know that there are 2 remaining administrative items that we are processing right now through Divot, and then we're done. So we are accepted and up and running. We had our orientation meeting last week with both trusts, and then including the 3rd trust, which is the health. So we're up and operating as of our April 1st date. So thank you very much.
And I was very impressed by the votes that we got through Divot.
Yes.
So that was
That's great.
very nice to see.
Yep. Lots of friends out there.
Yes.
It's nice.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is Department Matters. Consider authorizing the tuition reimbursement for Officer Sean Gregory.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I know. Do you want me to go over the project and goal status update for you?
Item G, under managed.
Yes, please.
I was in a hurry, Steph. Go ahead.
I'll be brief. So I just wanted to give you, we finished the first quarter of 2018. Brittany's going to blow it up.
Good. Keep going.
I'm going to keep talking as she's blowing that up. So this is a status update for you. It's a review of where you are at currently in the fiscal year.
Old eyes, sorry.
For the police department, we've ordered the police vehicles. The vehicle computers have been ordered. The tasers have been ordered and is complete. The emergency vehicle lighting, the cage install, and the Celebrate machine are all complete. There are 2 remaining items that Lieutenant Metz has assured me they are currently working on. But from a police department perspective, you are moving right along. So those were your capital goals for 2018, and that's your status update. In terms of recreation, from a capital perspective, you had specific items budgeted for the building. Lauren is now on board, and we've reviewed these items, and she is working on them currently, now that she, I will say, has had time to settle in and catch her breath. So recreation will be a larger update, status update for you in the second quarter.
Steph, I do have a question on that.
Yep.
I know that we picked all those items last year when we were going through the budget. When we go through the remodel, will there be areas for them?
Those items were chosen specifically for that reason. The ping pong table folds up and can be stored. The foosball table was the item that you designated that you'd like to add into that one space that would fit in with the location of the new fitness center. The rims and backboards are in the gym, so that doesn't affect the...
No.
And then the television is an amenity to add to the building, which we could use anywhere regardless of where you remodel it.
Thank you.
Welcome. Moving on to public services. The backhoe has been purchased, the dump truck has been purchased, trailers have been purchased, the Ford F-350 and plow have been purchased, the brine system has been purchased, they've been trained on it, and it was up and running in the last snowstorm. So major kudos to the Public Services Department for getting that system up and going. Access control is something that you budgeted for. That's an ongoing conversation. Again, we're evaluating the needs and the best options at each facility. And again, we're taking into account plans that the architects are submitting. So there are potential access control systems that we'll be rolling out. Other ones we may or may not complete this year, but that's an ongoing project. The wayfinding sign package update, that is also ongoing. I can tell you that this week we took some measures to just remove some misguided directional signage. And then we've also reached out to the vendor to start the process of ordering what will be new directional signage. So that's budgeted for and again in process. So again, a mix of items that are complete and that are ongoing, but that have been started. Any questions on the public services specifically? In terms of public services with parks and recreation, the A-field doors have started, so we can all be very excited that the door to the men's bathroom will close. Marywood Park equipment is ordered and construction has started.
Yes, that's
Support in
exciting.
place, ordered, construction has started. The playground infrastructure, again, this is an ongoing process as needed with construction. That's being provided through Ms. McNair and Gilmore, who's working closely in conjunction with Mr. Sokolowski. Community center doors, again, I have that on there that right now that's on hold.
Right.
So it's budgeted for. We're not looking to be redundant in terms of how we're spending money, so it's on hold right now. If we find that there is a best way to use those funds in 2018, we will move forward with it. If not, it will roll over, and it'll be evaluated with the rest of the architecture plans.
Okay.
Any questions on public services? Engineering perspective, Sutcliffe Park Accessible Connections, that has started. Ray, myself, and Karen have had conversations about what we're specifically looking for in Sutcliffe Park. The accessible connection that we're looking at, again, we're in the initial stages of this, is from the parking lot to the playground and to the restrooms. And then the survey of the lower senior field that will help us should we be making any decisions moving forward in the future. Infrastructure plan, you've heard from Karen on multiple occasions now, that has started and ongoing. The storm sewer televising, that contract is signed, it's started and ongoing, and it's approved and now part of the infrastructure plan. The MS4 PRP, have added that to the list. That is started and ongoing. The due date for that is in August.
Okay.
CMAC matching funds, Brian Keaveney, that is an ongoing project. Again, he was here in the first quarter to give you an update. The helipad in terms of FEMA and the rowing center in terms of FEMA, that is started and ongoing. Chris Stetler and I have a meeting with FEMA in the next 2 weeks. I believe it was finally set up for. Again, this is really the last 2 spots in order for us to meet our compliance threshold, which is great from where we were coming from. But again, ongoing, but started. And we're also working with Ms. McNair on those as well. Council added specific goals outside of the department goals. And again, those are the architectural services for the community center. That is started and ongoing. The Marywood Park House architectural services, that is started and ongoing. Again, you've received presentations from them. They've had meetings with the public. Their next appearance at council will be at the work session in May. So you'll get another round of information from them at that point. The Narberth ambulance appropriation is budgeted for. The check just needs to be processed. That's an admin function. The Haynes and Savati Dog Park, again, that is something that at this point we need further direction from council and the committee on. So I have that highlighted in pink for that very reason. And then the CRC boat lease, again, is an admin function, and the checks just need to be processed. Grant matching is ongoing. We have submitted grant applications for the 902 grant and the Monco 2040 grant.
When do we think we'll hear from?
Monco 2040 should be sooner rather than later. The 902 grant can be whenever the state decides they want to review the applications. I can tell you that it's been submitted. So at this point, we're waiting to hear back from the state. Other administrative goals and projects for this year, just to give you an update, any updates and revisions to the borough fee schedule. This is something that I'm going to start looking at in the second quarter. This would be something that would be considered for adoption and presented to council for 2019. Again, it's just an administrative process that we need to go through.
Is that an annual process historically, or have we not updated it in a while?
It hasn't been updated in a while.
Okay.
Authorized.net and credit card processing. We've spent a lot of time on this, specifically Angela Orr in the first quarter. It is almost complete, and we are in the final stages of rollout and training. It will roll out first in recreation. This will allow e-commerce functions and credit card processing on site, over the phone, or on the website.
That's great.
Great.
It will be available in the police department, in the admin, and recreation, and we will slowly roll it out for different functions. Borough Hall operations in terms of Keystone, again, this is started and ongoing. The closeout of the Borough Hall project specific to the maintenance contract is started and ongoing, specifically with Mike's office. We've made the transition and completed the transition to Delaware Valley Trust in terms of insurance. We've completed the capital asset list and government-wide financial statements. The draft is complete of the comprehensive plan. Records management is ongoing. In terms of IT operation consolidation, we have a first quarter meeting review scheduled for this week. It's actually tomorrow. And I know when we did our consultant interviews in December, that is something that you wanted brought back to your attention. So we will ask our IT consultant to be scheduled for a work session. So we'll do an admin meeting, and then we'll schedule them to come to council. Public services training room is complete. The brining system implementation is complete. The LED light project is complete. The chief of police search and officer testing, the search committee has been formed, and that will be an ongoing process. Ordinance revisions we discussed tonight, and that will be an ongoing process. We hired a director of recreation, that's complete. Archive Social is a social media function. That contract has been processed and it started, and we are currently working on rolling out a special events form, which will consolidate the requests for special events in the borough, and again, that has been started. So this is, again, first quarter update on 2018, so you have an idea of where you're at within your year. And I will do this for you on a quarterly basis moving forward.
Steph, can I make a request?
Yes.
This is wonderful, and it should be transparent for our residents so that
Okay.
they can see what's going on. I would ask that we could add like a traffic light column,
Okay.
Red, yellow, green, so that we can have the greens as
Okay.
completed,
Yep.
and then post it up there on our website for folks to see where we're going.
That we can do. Any questions? Okay, thanks, Britt.
I would like to say, I think what the administration and the departments have accomplished in the first quarter is amazing, and I thank all of you for all the hard work and effort to get us where we are already for the year.
That's great.
So,
Are you tired yet?
I don't know, are you tired yet?
I think they're sleeping.
Okay.
maybe a little tired they are. So we did department matters. Now we'll go to legal matters. I will hand that over to Mike.
The only issue I have for council this evening is another change to the Friends of Conshohocken Parks board. The recommendation this evening is to appoint a new member to the board as a result of the decision of a previously appointed member not to participate. There is a candidate for consideration, Antoinette Coop. I hope I'm saying her last name correct. If council is inclined, my recommendation would be to appoint Antoinette Coop as a member of the board of the Friends of Conshohocken Parks, and then we'll discuss in a moment what her position would be. So the first motion would be to appoint her as a member of the board of Friends of Conshohocken Parks.
Mike, before we have a motion, could I just introduce her?
Please do.
Because some people might not be familiar with Antoinette. She is a Conshohocken long-term resident. She attended St. Mary's School. She grew up on Maple Street, and she played sports at the Fellowship House along with her daughter. Years later, she's been a financial consultant for over 40 years, and she's a Temple grad, and her heart has always been in Conshohocken, and she would be a tremendous asset to us. So that's why I did ask her to consider being on our board, and she said yes. So I would encourage you all strongly to support her.
But I thought that we were going to appoint people, we were going to have them attend the meeting.
We
So
we
could-
didn't do it with any of the trustees for any of the
Not for
boards, Bob.
that, not, this is for the,
The legal matter.
Does
Yeah,
that-
it's-
it's
I-
not the Park House Committee that meets regularly to discuss things.
Right.
It's for the fundraising.
But I understand, but how many people on the board know her? I mean, anybody else know her?
I would, I would assume, but Mr. Bob Caiucci would know her.
We didn't bring the other two trustees in.
Anybody on the board? Does anybody on the board know her?
Which
The person
board?
we're gonna
Which board?
appoint? On this
I
board?
think Bob
You
means
mean on the
Borough
council?
On the council?
On the council.
Yeah, does anybody on the council know her?
I know.
Okay, so that's two. Anybody else?
I do not.
Okay.
We didn't bring the other trustees in.
That's
though,
fine,
either,
I'm
but-
just, you know.
Right.
I like to see people in person before I,
You would know her from St. Mary's.
yeah, probably. I think I do know her, but
Right.
I like to see people in person before I appoint people, you know? For some reason, I just like that communication.
We can bring her in, so it's only because you knew the other people and now
Oh, you can appoint her tonight, I'm just
Well,
trying to, you
but
know.
I'm just clarifying, so if you don't know them, you want them here. That's correct. If
I would
you,
like to
if you
see- yeah.
do, you
Oh,
don't
my
need
opinion,
them.
my-
Okay,
Okay, just my opinion,
I get it, yeah.
okay?
Okay,
The rest of council can say, you know, whatever they want to,
sure.
okay?
So, bring Antoinette in?
But do we have to bring the other two
Yeah, we
people? And
didn't
that
bring
we
the others
appointed
in.
without, that's my point. We appointed the other
I'm
two
just-
trustees
listen,
without bringing them in.
I'm just, with all the stuff happening in the country and the world, I think we need, even though people know people, I think we still need to, I mean, do we need to do background checks on these people? I don't know. It's scary that what's going on, that, you know, we put people on boards and all, and only a few people know them, but some of the best people have problems, you know? Just state my opinion, that's all.
So with that, it is up to council whether or not they would like to appoint Antoinette this evening or request that she come in. I will note, with respect to the other two directors, that the horse is out of the stable. They've been appointed, so it's done.
What did you say, Mike? I didn't hear you.
We already appointed
You
them.
you
without
already
bringing
appointed
them
the
in.
other two.
Correct. The others.
They will be, I assume, you know, obviously when the organization gets up and running, that they will be coming in to speak with council. So you will have an opportunity to speak with them then. It's at council's discretion. It's entirely within your discretion to appoint Antoinette. That would allow my office to begin processing the
Right. so
nonprofit status.
Time will be of the essence. If we appoint her tonight, you can get started on
We can
the
get started right away.
nonprofit wing.
Yeah, because until such time as they accept their positions, we're on hold.
I will make a motion to appoint Antoinette.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The final piece of that, so council is aware, and I would like you to approve it, that would result in Antoinette being president, Cindy Webb being secretary, and Robert Caucci, who is our longest-standing member of Friends of Conshohocken, being treasurer, and I would like you to approve that by motion.
I'll make that motion.
How
don't
did
know
that
either.
come to that without them meeting at least once?
Well, they can meet once. I would, if council wants to determine what positions they're in, the way that we framed this organization, they actually do it by way of a signature. It's actually called a unanimous consent in lieu of initial meeting. And the purpose of that is so that we can literally get the 501c3 started.
Okay,
So without the officers being assigned, the state won't let us start the process, the 501c3.
So who's had the conversation with the people that said that they would want that role?
I have not, but
I
believe that
had
someone has.
discussions with, not Antoinette, but with Bob.
And I had talked to Cindy and Antoinette.
Right.
Okay, so you two have had conversations with them
Because we're on
to
the
set
Marywood
up
Park
what the
Commission.
timeline is so that
Right.
you can get it moving.
Right,
Right.
it just keeps getting
And
postponed,
they're
that's why.
planning to come to our meeting on Monday night. We are having a Marywood Park Commission meeting. So,
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to appoint people to positions that they
Right.
don't
Don't
want.
want.
So I
Right.
didn't know,
Right.
did
Right.
somebody talk to them to say,
yes.
we just assigned that to you, do you like to play with money? You
Right.
know, that's part of my,
I think, considering Antoinette's background and Bob's and Cindy's, I think that they're well suited to the positions we've asked them to take.
great. And I would, like to have them come in,
Sure.
at least once they get organized.
Sure.
to-
Right.
Just so we can kind of talk with them. Perfect.
I think it would be great to hear what ideas they have for fundraising.
Well, that's what we talked about before, even the people that we were gonna be reappointed. They come in and tell us what they accomplished in the year or 2 years or the 3 years they're on the board. And I think that's something we should follow up on all the time, because, I mean, it's my opinion, that's all.
And we have been doing that before we reappointed people.
Right.
So would anyone like to make the motion approving the positions?
I'll make the motion
Get to approve the positions.
to approve the positions of secretary, treasurer,
Treasurer and secretary, treasurer, president.
and president.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And we'll make sure they all sign before they can decide they don't want to do it, so thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is council and mayor matters. We will start with Mayor Aronson.
Thank you. So this is our poster for the, what used to be the annual trail cleanup. We're doing a neighborhood streets cleanup this year. It is on Saturday at 9:30 a.m., starting from the Conshohocken Brewing Company, and volunteers will fan out across the borough to help clean up trash and beautify the streets. I have been informed there's a snowstorm coming. So I will keep everyone updated on whether that actually happens and what the new date will be should snow fall. I do want to say a big thank you to Steph and Ray, who did a lot of work behind the scenes to make this event happen. So thank you from me and the EAC and all our volunteers. We greatly appreciate it. And if it happens, we hope to see you guys. If not, we'll definitely see you when we reschedule.
What's the snow date?
We're working on that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mayor, can you just make sure you let us know so we can,
I definitely
Pump
will.
it out, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Bob?
No, I'm good. I have nothing.
Anita?
Nada.
I'm good.
Tina? Mike?
Yeah, Ray, on that trash on Monday, did you give it any citations? Because if you go down on Elm Street, and everything now, all those trash that were left out were in the gutter. Go down Poplar Street and all that places, you look at the street, it looked like a disaster, especially with that wind today. They left it out for Monday and it's all over the street. And you guys, when the trash comes tomorrow, they're not gonna pick the street up, they're gonna pick up empty cans because all the trash is in the, in the street now.
In the last month, we probably issued 15 citations. 5 of them went to court 2 days ago. And over 100 million.
Give it 100 more if you can. Okay,
40 phone calls
okay.
generated through the borough act.
All right.
Nice job, Ray.
Nita?
Karen?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
Public comment?
Public comment? I knew you were coming, George.
I hope you're still, it's been a long meeting, I know, but I hope you're still waiting to listen. If I may give these to you, Colleen, you'll pass them out, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. It'll be a lot easier.
George, could you do me one favor?
Say who I am?
Yes, please, and your address.
George Gephardt, 131 West 12th Avenue in Conshohocken. I am here again because I still love my grandchildren. And I'm here again to talk about the intersection at 12th and Maple Street, which we went through a kind of a sticky situation last year. It was approved by the council to put the speed bump in. At that time, Harvey was in charge of the streets department, and he went through PennDOT, and PennDOT said that it had to be 150 feet from the stop sign, you know, and I think you all know the story with there. Council's all the same. I think the borough manager's different, but I think she was here at the meetings, and we have a new mayor. I don't know if he's familiar with the situation or not, but anyway, what I was asking for, if you remember, was just basically a simple speed bump if possible, the type that we have down at Sutcliffe Park in the summertime to slow the traffic down. And of course, I was asking for it right at the stop sign, because my problem is, and if you look at the drawing, is the traffic coming down Maple Street from 11th to 12th, which is a one-way street. Most of the problem is the people going down into the Plymouth Garden Apartments. They blow right through the stop sign, and right at that corner is where my 4 grandchildren live. There are two young children 2 doors up, and 2 grandchildren of the people who live across the street. Now, even I have 2 older grandchildren, 12 and 14, and 2 that are 3 and 4. Now, the 3 and 4, they're in a fenced-in yard, but God forbid if they get out, 3 and 4 years old, you don't know what they're going to do. Even the 12 and 14-year-old, when they go down 12th Avenue, you know, they basically have to go into the intersection on their bicycles to go play with their friends, whether they go down to 12th Avenue, 11th Avenue, but they always have to go through that intersection. I myself have problems in the intersection because I walk a lot, and I personally have almost been hit. Now, Bob Stokely came down, and the former borough manager came down to look at the situation last year. And the problem is on Maple Street going down towards 12th Avenue, halfway down the street, there's a pretty steep incline, or a decline actually going down. And of course, with the cars parked on both sides of the street, even myself, I know I'm not that tall, but you can imagine a small kid. If a kid runs out into that intersection and one of the people who don't think they have to stop to go down to the Plymouth Park Apartments, my grandchildren are in trouble. And so once again, I don't know if, like I say, Harvey was in charge at the time of the Streets Department, and I know Ray is in charge now. The police have been there on occasions. I think if the police would sit there between 5 and 6 o'clock at night or something like that, I don't know that, I think they would need the whole police force to stop everybody going through that stop sign. People, of course, you got the rolling stop going down 12th Avenue. Most of the people going down to Cardinal View, and I don't want to pick on the Plymouth people, but boy, they just want to roll through the stop sign. They have to get home to dinner or wherever they're going. Mm-hmm. And my worst problem is the people in Plymouth Gardens, which of course, there again, they're not Conshohocken people. But for some reason, now I know the one side is my driveway, so there's not a lot of traffic there. Mm-hmm. But there's still stop signs. And as far as I know, I don't care if there's traffic or not. You're supposed to stop at a stop sign.
Correct.
Okay? And they just feel that, you would not believe the number of times that I have seen people go through that stop sign down into the apartments without even touching their brakes. And I yell at them, I scream at them. I've had some altercations with people because just a week ago, I walked out into the intersection. The guy was making a rolling stop going down, going down to Cardinal View, and he rolled down his window. He slammed on his brakes, and he apologized to me because he didn't see me come out from behind the car.
Right.
And I said, well, excuse me, there's stop signs here. I don't care whether I'm coming out from behind a car or not.
Right.
There's stop signs here.
Right.
And he's apologizing because he didn't see me.
Right.
But he didn't stop. So once again, I don't know if, and there again, I don't quite understand the legal aspect of it. I don't know if PennDOT really, if Conshohocken, since it's not a state road, I don't know if Conshohocken has to listen to what PennDOT says.
So I'll comment just briefly. So I think it's more, There are two separate issues. One is traffic calming, right? And then there's actual, a stop sign, right?
Yes.
So they're two separate issues.
Yes.
The stop sign issue, of course, would be enforced by our police department.
Right.
In terms of building a little ramp here, I don't think that would accomplish what you're actually looking for.
Well,
because-
it would, because what I'm asking for, what I asked for originally, is if we put the type of speed bumps that are down Sutcliffe Park, I don't know if you're familiar with them or not.
No, but I don't think, our engineer is here, but I don't.
Yes.
That wouldn't be consistent with sound engineering practice either. So our police are here. I'm sure they're hearing what you have to say, and it's more of an enforcement issue.
Well,
than
I
a
say, I
traffic
call
calming issue.
them speed bumps, but what I'm asking for is,
A speed table, I understand.
I'm talking at the stop sign.
No, you can't,
put it as-
so we couldn't do one at the stop sign.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
but I do think,
All right.
again, I think our police department hears what you're saying.
Okay.
And it's more
Well,
of an
there again,
enforcement issue.
I know the police department have this problem with stop signs on every stop sign in Conshohocken. It's a huge problem. I know that. But I personally am concerned with my grandchildren.
Right.
And I honestly believe that with the slope of the road and the cars on both sides, and there's no sight lines, Bob, you saw it last year. You can stand on the curb, ready to walk out the street, and there's no way anybody can see you coming down that street.
Can I make a recommendation?
Right.
We have a new team. We have a new engineer. We have a new public works. Can
Director.
we re-look at this to see what kind of options are there with the police and everybody again with a new group of eyes? That's what it sounds
that
like
was
Mr.
going to be-
Gephardt's
No,
asking
well,
for
that,
at this
And
point.
George, so I understand, last year when we put the ramp, we were going to put the ramp
Yes.
in.
Yes.
You decided that you did not want that, correct?
yes, well, I suggested that it was a waste of money for the borough because it had to be 150 feet.
Right, but you
from the stop sign.
but you never let us put that in. Okay.
I said,
So the one option that we
I thought-
did have at that
yes.
point, you thought was
Right.
not gonna
I
work.
felt would not.
But
be
you
any
never
good.
gave us the opportunity to do that.
No, I'm not, no, I
Okay,
say, no.
so if that becomes the only option again,
Right,
We have one of the best traffic engineers around, so.
okay,
I think that he would be happy to take
Right.
a look at this. This type of
Okay.
traffic calming is something he deals with day in, day out. So
right.
I think, Tina, we absolutely can ask Brian Keaveney and
Right.
Karen and Ray, and we'll all take a look at it and see if we can come up with a solution. But the solution may be something that you don't like, but it will be the correct solution, I can guarantee.
Well, like I said, anything is better than what I have because, I fear the worst.
Right.
I feel the worst for my grandchildren and for any other kid, that has to go through there.
We'll have Mr. Keaveney take a look at it.
Right. Now, one other suggestion I would make, and I don't know how this would go over, but if you notice on the drawing, basically we have a U. From 11th to 12th Avenue is one way going down Maple. West 12th Avenue, which is only 2 blocks, is one way from Maple to Freedley. And Freedley Street from 12th to 11th is one way going the other way. The suggestion I would have, I don't know what it would take, the traffic engineer, the chief of police would probably have to get involved, whatever, is turn the one way around. Because
and that's a traffic pattern we'd have to look at to see how it
Right,
affects, yes.
Right, because if the traffic had to go from 11th to 12th on Freedley and up 12th Avenue
Correct.
from Freedley to Maple, and from Maple to 11th up, what that would do is it would give 1,000% better sight lines. In other
Right.
words, the people coming out of the apartment complex have a clear view of my grandchildren running across the street.
Right.
Where somebody coming down the street,
I understand, yeah. I think that what they'll have to look at with it is it would make both streets one way up. So that would be where they would have to look at to see if that is feasible
Yes.
and what else would have to be changed with that.
yeah, well, I
So
say, yeah,
what Tina suggested is encompassing all of that.
right.
They'll look at the entire intersection.
All of it. So
Okay.
it won't be just a go look at one specific thing. It will be the whole everything, the engineers, the police, all of them will be there for that, George.
Okay, and I appreciate
Okay.
your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What George was saying on one thing, with the stop signs where you can't see, if you look at the Pennsylvania Driver's Guide book, when you go to take the test, you're not 15 feet from a stop sign, okay? And we don't enforce that in this town. I don't know, do we, Lieutenant George?
I'll address that. Do you want me to start enforcing that everywhere in the town?
Well, it's a problem. He's got a, but George,
Parking's a problem.
I understand. We do have a really bad problem in this town, but how do you convince a 16-year-old or 17 now to take the driver's test? And he reads the book and he goes and takes the test. And then he comes to, and he lives in Conshohocken and he sees that nobody follows that, what it says in the book.
Okay.
And just hear me out. So if you're a small person or you're a child and you're crossing the street and the car's parked right on top of the stop sign, sure, that person coming down the street is not going to see that child. And he's not going to see a grown-up either. So that's why they have that 15 feet. Am I correct, or am I?
I understand what you're saying.
I know, I'm not
completely.
trying to be smart, I'm just trying
I
to.
also understand that there are a lot of houses on top of each other in
Oh,
this
I
town.
know,
There's
I know.
limited off-street parking. There's lots of people that have multiple cars. Now, listen, there's the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, and I'll stand right before all of you and say, we have a job to do where you gotta walk that knife's edge. Because we don't wanna be the goons that are out there
Doing the letter.
peeing everybody off with parking tickets, because we want cooperation. We want support from the community. So we walk that razor's edge every day. And I understand you, that there are the letter of the law type things that they're not gonna work here. And I'll stand here and tell you that, yeah, there are cars parked within a restricted,
George,
area
I have
at the intersections in this town by the vehicle code, and we're not enforcing them because we never have.
Right.
George, I don't know what it's
But
called.
in
We
that,
need a place to park.
in
But
that
this-
specific area,
Excuse me?
in that specific area where they're where this discussion is coming from, can you ticket? No, let me finish. Can you actually ticket in Plymouth? It's not Conshohocken.
Yeah, we can, there is a boundary extension on any border in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that you could,
That was my question.
ticket
'cause
on that
is-
side of the street,
I
or
mean,
for a violation of a stop sign or something like
Right.
that that's on. And Mr. Gephardt, and listen, these things, like addressing the traffic patterns, these are cost-effective, they cost you nothing, really. Thinking outside of the box to get these things, and I appreciate you saying that this isn't just your problem. It is a problem everywhere, and we have priorities, we have other jobs to do, and I can tell you, since our traffic initiative that we started in August, we've had around 3,000 violator contacts since then. Now, if you want to boil that down, that's a third of the population of this town would have been met one of us one day for a traffic violation. Now, all of them weren't citations, a number of them were, and a number of them were, verbal warnings, because we want compliance, and we want support from the community, and we want everybody to, we want to apply common sense to this kind of stuff, and I understand your concerns, everybody loves their grandkids.
So maybe while the research is going to be going on, maybe at certain points of the day, we could have whoever is on that patrol, maybe a little bit more presence in that area.
Okay, yeah,
Does
listen.
that at least help until we get everyone on board and seeing what we can do to address it?
Right, okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I
Bob?
spoke to the people in Plymouth Gardens, the two managers. They had the same problem in there. People fly through their
I'm sure
parking
they
lots
do.
like, they go 40 miles an hour through the lots, and they're trying to address it with their meetings, and but they have the same problem. And they do come out of that complex like a bat out of hell, excuse my language.
Right. And George, there are certain times of the day that probably are worse, correct?
Well, I would say that probably the most traffic would be 5 to 6 o'clock or so when people are coming home from work.
Right, and the concern would be especially as the weather breaks and it gets nicer, that would be the time, I guess, that maybe we can concentrate a little bit.
Kids are out.
Yes,
get it.
that's my point.
Yeah, we
It's
will
daylight.
address it.
Right.
Later.
I understand,
We
like
hear you.
like I said, I know this, this is not the only bad intersection in the town as
No,
far as stop signs. I understand that, and the police can't be there every day.
Right.
I'm doing my best to walk in front of the traffic without getting killed, so I can slow them down, but, the weather's been too much.
And I could tell you, I'd also like to say to all of you, from a statistical point of view, pedestrian-wise and, traffic-wise, this is a safe town.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, a man was run over by a car right out here. It wasn't safe for him that day. He died. However, statistically speaking, it is safe.
Right.
We don't have the high-impact crashes.
No.
We don't have the speeding problems, through everywhere. People do speed, absolutely, but, it's
Right.
basically very controlled by traffic control signals and devices, and it's pretty safe, but you always have to be careful.
Right.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment? Meeting adjourned.